Hello and welcome to the webinar, everyone. My name is Monika Ben. I'm the head of marketing here at InvolveMe, and I will be showing you how to get started with InvolveMe calculators. I'm so glad that you're all here. Seriously, thank you so much for making the time to come here and learn how to make a fun, engaging calculator for your website, your business, your side projects, or even just for fun. Calculators can be fun. Calculators are mostly seen as a necessity for calculating basic things like prices, for example. But in the recent years, we have seen calculators, especially online calculators, being used as digital content. Calculators can be content, calculators can be creative, calculators can be used for lead generation, for example. Calculators have this innate ability to provide heaps of value to your website visitors. And they are completely self-sufficient once you set them up. So they are a great, engaging, low-effort way to engage your visitors and maybe even collect additional leads at no additional cost. Whatever the reason for you is to want to create a calculator, this webinar will cover everything you need to know before getting started with InvolveMe calculators. Now, I will take you through everything from the most basic things like picking a template all the way to the more advanced stuff like connecting your calculator to your CRM or your emailing system. But don't worry, that will come all the way at the end. I'm not just going to throw it at you first thing. We will go slowly and gradually so you can learn as you go. We can all learn as we go together. If you have any questions, that is awesome. Drop them in the comments. My colleagues will be answering them as soon as they see them. Right now I'm working with multiple monitors, so it is possible that I will not see your question, but that is what my colleagues are there for. So everyone who asks a question will hear back, will get personal attention immediately. So don't be shy, ask anything. This is why we're here. If you've never made a calculator, it's hard, and that's okay, but you have taken the first step to come here to learn, to educate yourself about everything, and that is the exact kind of initiative and attitude that we love at InvolveMe. We love seeing people trying to get involved in digital content creation, which is why we are giving everyone who attends this webinar 30% off any plan. Except for the free plan, of course, because the free plan is already 100% free. And I'm sure that you've been having a lot of fun with that. But if you want to experience some of the more advanced InvolveMe features, this 30% discount on any plan is there specifically to help you make it possible. We're hoping that this would make it easier for you to try all the most advanced features InvolveMe has to offer. So right after this webinar, take everything that you have learned, redeem your discount, and see how awesome of a calculator you can make. Now, I'm not sure how much you know about InvolveMe. Maybe you're very new here, maybe you've been here for a while and just decided to really get serious about your calculators, but just in case, I'm going to summarize what InvolveMe is to everyone. So InvolveMe is a drag and drop editor where you can create quizzes, surveys, forms, landing pages, calculators obviously, and payment pages, or really anything that you want to act as a standalone page or an embed or a widget, if you want to call it that way. InvolveMe is one tool to create all these different types of interactive content, not just calculators. It's a visual editor for making interactive content with basically just drag and dropping. Any kind of look, any kind of functionality can be created with just drag and drop. You do not need to know how to code. You do not need any technical skills. That is the beauty of InvolveMe, is that you and everyone on your team essentially can create or edit anything, saving you time and making your whole process a lot faster, more efficient, and a lot more fun. So now that we have a basic idea of why we're here and what we're here to accomplish, we can move on to actually getting started with making our calculator. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, so here we are now logged into InvolveMe. If you've never made a calculator or anything else in InvolveMe, this is what your workspace will look like. It will say that it has no projects and you can create one now. So let's do that. Now we have basically two options of how to get started. You can either start from scratch or you can pick one of these templates from one of these template categories. Starting from scratch is great if you are good at design or if you are working with a designer, then it's a great option for you. You can start basically with a blank canvas and there is nothing distracting you from making whatever you want. So that is what starting from scratch is about. Now picking a template is great if you are not confident in your design skills or you just need something quick that you can customize. Starting with a template in this case would be a real time saver for you. Keep in mind that no matter how you start, you can create something that matches your branding perfectly either from scratch or using a template, which in this case would be a calculator template. However, think of templates as just gentle guidelines, as shortcuts maybe to whatever you're trying to achieve. Any functionality can be added to any template. You can pick a survey template and you can make it into a payment form. You can totally do that. Templates do not limit functionality, they are just guidelines. Also, all templates can be fully customized. You can change the fonts, you can change the layout, you can change the background, the colors, everything. You have the same design options while using templates as you have with starting from scratch. During this demonstration, I will not be using a template. I will be making everything from scratch. So you can see all the design options that you have and there is nothing distracting you from the demonstration and from the content that we are trying to make. So let's get started from scratch. I'm going to name this calculator, and the kind of calculator I'm making is an email marketing ROI calculator. This is a great example of calculator as content. This would be great if I was to embed this on my website or in my blog post or share it on social media, maybe even use it in an ad to provide value to people who are wondering how is their email marketing doing. Maybe some tips, some additional content. This is a great example of that. Now, the first big choice that I need to make once I'm already getting started to make my calculator is picking my project type over here. I can pick from a single thank you page or multiple outcome pages. Now, most calculators use a single thank you page at the end, and this means that everyone who makes a calculation will end up on the same final page. So there's one page for everyone. Of course, the calculator result is going to be different for everyone, but the design of the page is going to be the same. You can pick multiple outcome pages for your calculator. Maybe if you are making a custom price calculator and you would want to direct people to different product pages at the end, you can do that. You can do custom redirects this way. But for most calculators I've seen, they use a single thank you page, so that's the one I'm going to pick. Let's not overcomplicate this. Let's go. So now that I am in the editor, this is the InvolveMe drag and drop editor. Say hello, hello. So another thing that I need to keep in mind is, am I designing this as an embed, or am I sharing this calculator as a link to a standalone page? For example, if we are writing a blog article about email marketing, we can embed an email marketing calculator there, and we would need to design this with embeddability in mind. You would want it to match the rest of your page that you're embedding it into, of course. An easy way to achieve this would be to make the background transparent, which you can do right here by clicking this icon, scrolling down to background. And in background, you can see that you can pick the color of the background. Let me drag this a little bit so you can see how the color is changing. I can also drag it over here. And you can see the slider right underneath, that is the transparency slider. And I can drag this, and as I'm dragging this, the transparency keeps changing from fully opaque to fully transparent. This is a great way to design a website embed because it will seamlessly blend into your website no matter what the background looks like. Let me show you an example. Of course, we have this on the Involve Me website. Here in the contact section, you can see there's an Involve Me form right here, and this big triangle here is not actually a part of the form design. It's just a part of the website background, and the form that we designed is fully transparent and is just kind of hovering over it, seamlessly blending in with everything else, not really distracting. It looks like it's meant to be there. It's super easy to embed it there. Yeah, so transparent design is something you can 100% do with Involve Me just by simply dragging this slider from fully opaque to fully transparent. Another way to look at embeds, and of course we have also an example of that at Involve Me, would be making them into a bold statement that demands attention and invites your website visitors to interact with it. See if you can spot it. There it is. So this one does not have a transparent background. Obviously, it has quite a bright background. It is wide and short. It is actually about the same height as the other little website section that we have here. You can interact with it, which is the whole intention of it too. It's like a little assistant that pops in, that pops out on your website and says, "Hi, how can I help you? What can I do?" So that is something you can also try when you are making your embeds. This is an approach that you can take. Now let's go back into the editor. So hopefully we have already made our minds up what we're trying to do. I'm not going to pick transparent, and I'm going to put the background back to white. And the first thing that I need to do is adding a background, which we will be using. I can add a background by going back here and drag and dropping or just uploading my background image there. There we go, that's my background. I can pick the brightness of my background with the slider. I can also pick the alignment of my background. You can see how it moves. I'm going to keep it right here. Seems okay to me. Now for the content card, let me drag and drop a content element here so you can see the content card. This is our content card. Say hello. There are some design options obviously for this content card. I can align it here. I can align it in the middle. I can align it in the middle with the text in the middle, and I can align it on the other side. Now, because my background is a little bit busier on this side and there's nothing really happening on this side, I'm going to align it right here. Now, my background is really not that busy. It's basically plain white with a few little minimalistic touches. So I'm going to make my content card transparent as well. So you can see that it's starting to disappear, and now it's basically invisible. It looks like it's not even there. So that is the design that I'm choosing for this one. Now let's actually write in our calculator text. So I'm making a email marketing calculator, so we can say calculate your email, or just email marketing ROI. And we can see Grammarly already caught a typo. Yes, you can use Involve Me with Grammarly. I do it all the time. It's great. It saves you so much time and it catches all your little typos. So what can we say about this calculator? Find out how efficient is your email marketing is. Find out how efficient your email marketing is. That's pretty explanatory. People will understand what they will get when they're making a calculation. Let's go back to the content elements. Right now we need a button, so it's possible for people to go from this page to the next page where the actual calculation happens. If we don't give them a button, they have no way to make it there. So let's drag and drop a button here, make it say calculate. Now let's play around with the design options here. There are two design options basically. There is general project design and individual element design. So right now I'm going to be using general project design, which means everything that I change here is going to change the entire rest of my calculator. So if I have 30 pages here, if I change something here, all the 30 pages will be affected unless they have a custom design, but we will get to that. So let me duplicate this page so you can see that if I change something from this page technically, but on the general project design level, everything else will change. So this page will change and this page will change. So let me change the font and this one too, just so we can see the difference. You can see there already is a difference on this page and on this page too. Now let me change the color so we can see how that affects the other page as well. So now this is dark blue and this is also dark blue. Now let's see what would happen if I change something on an individual element design. So let me change this button and just this button. Instead of going through here into general project design, I can just click on my element, which in this case is a button, and go to design and pick customize this element only, which means this button will change, but this button will not. So let me change the background color. I would like it to be like this, no border, and let's make it really round so it looks really different. So I can see this button now has the custom design tag and has changed. This button is still underneath the general project design and has not changed. If I wanted to change all my buttons to look like this, in the design I can pick apply settings to all button elements, click that, yes, customize all, and all my existing buttons will now have the same design. However, if I drag and drop another button, that button still has the general project design. But I could also go to my old button, design, apply the settings to all button elements, yes, and that button is changed again. Another thing I can do, which is maybe quicker for you, would be just to press Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and I can copy paste whatever element I picked into any pages. I can copy paste it here, I can copy paste it here, blah blah blah. Let me design it because I don't actually need two buttons right underneath each other. One is perfectly enough. Perfect. So that is our first page. We don't actually need this page because we don't need the first page twice. What we do need, however, is the actual calculation page where we allow people to enter the values and then use these values in the formula so we can calculate their email marketing ROI. So let's add a page by clicking on this plus sign. And I'm going to be using the slider element for this one. If I want to make this color match the button, I'm going to take the color from the button over here, and I'm going to copy paste it into general project design, which means all the elements that I drag and drop there are going to have that color. And let's do it for the highlights as well, because I don't want it to be too confusing for you. Cool, there we go. Now it is that color. So the question that I need to ask for my formula would be how much revenue came from emails. And the minimum value can stay at 0, and the maximum value we can take it to 20K, let's say. As you can see, as I type in 2 and 0, it automatically adds 20K underneath, so it wouldn't be too long. I do need a prefix, which would be the $sign. That's already there. That's already there. Perfect. Now I'm going to, so I don't have to enter the $sign. Again, I'm going to copy paste this, and boom, it's already there. I don't have to do it twice. It saves me a bit of time. And the second question that I'm asking is, what's your email marketing budget? Perfect. And you can see that this button is not as round as this button, so I can either copy paste this one, or I can go to the design and pick apply settings to all button elements, and now the button matches. Great. I'm going to write calculate in this one too, and boom. Now let's see, maybe I want the text on the questions to be a little bit smaller. It seems a little bit too distracting for me, so I will go to general project design again and pick question size small. Boom. Now my questions are nice and small, and the real focus is on the slider element. Perfect. So I have my first page, my second page, and now let's actually build the calculator formula. This is why we're all here. So let's go over here to calculator, drag and drop that in there. We don't need the result in there, but we do need a $sign. Now let's open Formula Builder and build our formula. Formulas are built the same way anything in Involve Me is built. You just drag it and drop it in there. So I'm going to delete default formula, which is just 1 plus 1. And the formula that we will need is how much revenue came from emails, minus what's your email marketing budget, divided by what's your email marketing budget. That's my formula. Save, done. This page looks a little bit lonely, so I am going to add a headline there. Why not? And all we need to say is this is your email marketing ROI. Subheadline is not necessary. Let's make this one a little bit smaller. So let's go to design, just this one. I want just this headline to be smaller. I don't need this headline or all the other headlines in my calculator to be smaller. So I'm going to do it on an individual level. Design this smaller, maybe a little bit too small. That's it. This one can be a teeny bit bigger. So again, design, customize this element only, slightly bigger. Cool. Now I feel like this gap is a little bit too large, and there's a trick for that. You drag and drop a space divider, make the line size non-existent, and make the spacing also 0. So right now the space divider doesn't only make things further apart, but it can also make it a little bit closer apart. Let me see if I move it. Now the gap is bigger. Now the gap is smaller. Cool. Now let's actually preview our design. Let's go to the first page to see if we can interact with it. So here in the preview, we can preview what our calculator would look like on different devices. Right now we have desktop. We can also have a look at it on mobile. This is what it would look like on mobile. We can interact with it a little bit. However, it does not actually calculate the result. It just shows us the design. If we actually want to try if our formula is working, we should click on try it. And this way we can interact with our calculator the same way our audience, our website visitors, our newsletter subscribers would see it. So we can check if everything is connected properly, if everything is working properly before sending it out, putting it live. I 100% recommend that you do this before starting to distribute and promote any of your content. So in the draft preview, let's see if we can actually make a calculator that makes sense. So calculate how much revenue came from emails. Let's see, this much. And what's your email marketing budget? Let's see, this much. Cool. This number makes sense to me. You can check if everything is correct by doing a calculator on your calculator, on your phone, on your laptop. Usually when you get a negative number, that could be an indicator that something is a little bit off. But this number makes sense to me. You can double check it at home if it makes sense to you. And yeah, seems like everything is great. So let's go and actually publish this calculator so we can start promoting it. I'm going to click this big green button that says publish. And I can just go ahead and click it again and it will be published. But before that, let's have a look at some of the options that we have before publishing. So over here in the project name, this is mostly internal. So it's for your organization, for your tracking. You can name it something that makes sense to you and your team members that are underneath the same account. This is mostly organizational, and by default your project name is pulled into your URL. That is something that just happens on its own, but this is external, so you can name it whatever you want over here. If it's available, yes. If it's not available, there will be like a random number next to it. So that will be the URL of your calculator. By default, everything made in InvolveMe has app.involveme, then your organization name, and then your project name in there. If you want your links to be more white label and do not include your domain, do not include InvolveMe and have your domain here instead of InvolveMe, you can do that with a custom domain. And we can set one up for you. You can contact support right here and we can try to make it happen for you. Now for default language, that is something you can change. You can pick some of these languages. However, keep in mind that this will not actually translate your calculator. The text that you entered with your hands will not change. That is completely up to you to change. This language only affects some system messages. So if you want your calculator to be completely in Danish with the Danish text that you entered with Danish system messages, that is what this setting is for. You can also set an end date for your calculator. For example, if you are running a campaign only for a certain amount of time, if you're doing a giveaway that's going to expire, if you are closing applications at a certain date, this is where you can control that. You can also pick to choose an email for every submission. So every time somebody completes a calculation on your calculator, you will get a quick email notification, and you can set the email where you would like to send it to per each individual calculator. So if your sales team needs to be notified, if you need to be notified, this is where you can write that email in. You can also integrate a chat widget. So your calculator would have this little chat icon. So if somebody has a question, it's very easy for them to reach out and ask whatever they need. Now for personal data, pretty self-explanatory. Let's move on to social media sharing. Here's where you can write in your sharing title. So what title will show up on people's feed when they share it. Sharing description is the text right underneath the title. And sharing image, this is important, especially if you want more clicks, more comments, more shares, more engagement in general on your social media posts if you are sharing your calculator on social media. Here is where you can upload a sharing image. If you do not, the default InvolveMe image will show up. For tracking, again, pretty self-explanatory. If you need Google Analytics, Facebook Pixel, or Google Tag Manager, this is where you can add your tracking IDs and your calculator will be tracked within those services. So if we're ready to publish, we can do that. But I told you we will have a teeny look at integrations. Now there's two ways to approach integrations. You can do it on an organization settings, which means all projects will automatically adapt those settings. But if you want to set up this specific calculator to talk to your CRM on a very individual level, maybe you have some special fields, some special data collection fields that you would like to map here, you can do that by clicking Use Custom Integration Settings for this project. Here you can pick either a native integration from one of these, we keep adding new ones all the time, or Zapier, or a webhook. So those are the three major ways that you can make your CRM and your email system talk to your calculator on an organizational level or on an individual project calculator level. Perfect, so that is about it. Let's go back and actually publish this project so I can show you how to share it and how to embed it. Publish now, perfect. And now we are ready, we are published. We can go ahead and share it straight away from here. We can copy our link here and put it in our newsletter, in our ads, in our social media. We can schedule it to be shared on social media at a particular time or date. Or over here we have the embed code, and all you need to embed this into your website is click copy code and then paste it into your website, and that's it. You can also see how your embed would look like, more or less. Something like this you can have on your website. Let's click calculate. You see it expands a little bit to accommodate all these fields. Let's interact with it a bit. And this is how the calculation would look like if it was embedded on your website. If you're not happy with what this embed looks like, you can go back, re-edit it, play with it, see what works best for you. Once your project is published and live, anything that you change in it back in the editor will immediately show in the live project, in the embed, in the links. So you don't have to redo it, you don't have to re-embed it or reshare it with a different link. Once you have changed something, it automatically immediately changes. It also means that you should be careful when you're editing a live project, because if you just leave it for a day half edited with like half a sentence missing, people are going to see it, so be careful about that. Cool, so that is pretty much it when it comes to making your calculator and sharing it with the world. And that concludes the webinar. You made it all the way to the end. Congratulations, round of applause for yourself. No, seriously, I'm very proud of you that you made it all the way to the end, that you listened to all the tips and tricks, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people just make very basic, boring things, and that kind of defeats the point of using InvolveMe. InvolveMe is a smart tool to make smart, fun, interactive content, and I'm always very happy to see all the creative digital content that you guys are able to create. I always retweet it when I see it. I try to include it in some use cases and some case studies that we have published on our blog. I really like talking to content creators and see all the cool things that they can come up with. So thank you again for stopping by. I'm hoping that this was helpful to you. Let me know if there's anything that you were missing, if it was too hard, too easy, too long, too short, any specific things that you would like us to include in the next webinar, because yes, there will be a next webinar with more advanced features, so definitely sign up for that one. You will get an email invitation in your inbox, so check your inbox, every folder, even your spam folder, just in case, so you don't miss it. So let me know what you would like to see next time, and maybe I'll include it. Of course, there's a lot of very case specific things that would not be helpful to other people because it might be something very industry and niche specific, but it's still very helpful and very guiding to see what kind of things you're struggling with and what kind of things you would need an explanation for when you're trying to figure out how to make Involve Me work for you, because we're trying to make that process as easy for you and as straightforward as possible. So yeah, absolutely let me know in the comments. Email me, Monika with a K, Monika at Involve Me, and I'll be happy to read through that. There's also the customer chat bubble. If you have any issues with your specific stuff, that is where you can ask anything. And yeah, don't forget about your discount. You still get 30% off on any plan, yearly, monthly, everything. So take advantage of it while you can. It is your reward for taking the time to join us and learn how to make awesome stuff. And that's about it. I'm going to shut up now and leave you alone. You've already spent enough time listening to me. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and can't wait to see you next time.